driving for almost 20 minutes. We've gone 25 kilometers. Here's the breakdown of how we're using everything. It's minus 6 degrees Celsius with the wind chill. It's pushing about minus 16. I think that's somewhere in the neighborhood of minus 10 Fahrenheit. Could be wrong. But we got a special weather statement for a snowfall warning, and a lot of areas have declared a significant, I forget what they're calling it. They're calling it a snow event or a significant event or something like that. So, just gonna show you a little drive home in the Mach E. Hope everyone enjoys. But we're nice and toasty in here, I can tell you that. It might be blustery and snowing outside, but we are nice and warm here in the Mach. See that the snowplow has knocked down some signs. Been I wouldn't say a harsh winter, definitely a more normal winter for around this area of southwestern Ontario. We're just up into the snow belt right now, heading back to London, Ontario. But definitely one of the hardest winters I can remember driving. Decent amount of wind right now. We're just doing highway speeds. Getting some windrows in certain areas. See the height of the banks over here. Probably got about 3 feet more than that height of that van. But yeah, coming up on 3 years of ownership in this vehicle. As you can see, 62,000 kilometers coming up on. In right now it's mid-February, so in mid-June, March, April, May, June, so in 4 months will be 3 years of ownership on this vehicle, and knock on wood, haven't had any major issues. Been quite good. Any services aside from turning the brakes once, the brake rotors, all been covered by Ford, so cost of ownership has been super low. Keeps you nice and toasty on days like this. I get it, buddy. You need to go the highway speed. This is just barely, like it's a dusting. I don't know what you classify this as. It's not windrows. It's not track bear. Obviously, if it keeps going like this, it's not going to be great. But getting back to the Mach E, it's really nice to do the cabin and the battery preconditioning. I set it up for when I need to leave in the morning. Get out there, I unplug it. It's running off of the house AC source, and the batteries are warmed up, the cabin's all warmed up. Really don't have to worry about much. This makes me nervous. I really don't need to worry about a whole lot. Everything's nice and toasty. I can set that up for on my way home too if I really wanted to. I could have it preconditioned, get the cabin all warm at a certain time. I just auto start it at that point. But there's a lot of naysayers out there, and before I get too far into the video, I always like to remind my audience out there that the reason why I own an EV is not to save the world and not to save the earth and climate change and whatever it is. As you can see, I had driven some 20-something kilometers in 20 minutes at the point that we're making the video. We still got another 25 minutes to get home. We drive 60 kilometers to work, which is about 40 miles, 45 miles, something like that. And we drive the same distance going home, obviously. I was just getting tired of spending upwards of $6,000 a year. At the highest point, we were putting in $600 a month into the Ford Flex that we were driving. I got tired of spending that much money and just literally having it go out the tailpipe, and I hated going to the gas station twice a week, every week. Then you factor in that my wife had a Ford Fusion Sport, which is a 3.5 V6 all-wheel drive. We were spending almost that much, again, at its peak, $600 a month, and going in twice a week to fill it up. And me being the nice husband that I was, I would fill up. So I was going to the gas station 4 times a week, and I got tired of it. I got tired of wasting that money. So yes, I paid a bit more to get an EV compared to a conventional vehicle, but my consumption goes down from whatever that worked out to. I think it was $15 a day in gas to $2 a day in electricity costs, and that $2 is heavily rounded up just for easy calculations. And we'll do some videos where we break down what we actually pay in hydro. But that was the OPP. You can see how rough the road's getting in this area. So the OPP is the Ontario Provincial Police. So they're out doing their job, and we're just trying to get home. But yeah, we'll do some videos just kind of breaking down the cost of Mach E ownership, what it costs to actually charge it up. You know, the way I worked it out, that if I had 10 years of gas charges on a vehicle like a Mach E compared to this vehicle, I'm going to save in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000 over 10 years just in gas. And gas is not going down in price. Yes, vehicles are getting more efficient, but they're definitely not going down. The cost of fuel is not going down. So what kind of vehicle can you buy that over 10 years is going to save you $50,000 to $60,000 in fuel? It's not going to be any gas engine, I can tell you that. But again, I didn't buy this vehicle to save the earth. I did it to save my pocketbook. If, as a bonus, I can help the environment out or not impact it as much, well, that's just a win-win. But again, that's not why I purchased it. But what I was going to transition to before I started down that line of thinking was that there was a lot of naysayers out there. There was an incident in Chicago where a bunch of Teslas were having trouble charging because it was so cold. Now, when you dig in a little bit deeper, it was because these vehicles were not driven in some amount of time, and they ended up having to resort to other measures to charge them up. When any vehicle gets down to that cold a temperature and you haven't been running it, you haven't been running the alternator and like a gas engine to charge that battery up, guess what happens? The battery gets drawn down because it's so cold, it makes it hard to start. This is exactly what happened with the Teslas. As an example, there's only so many charging stations in Chicago where people can charge their Teslas, and there were some incidents that they wouldn't start. Now, is this common? No. Does this happen to all EV vehicles? No. Can it happen to them? Of course. It already did. But, what the hell are we doing here? waiting to turn? Well, I'm not waiting 20 minutes to turn and then being stuck behind that person. Sorry, I still haven't turned. Sorry, I'm gonna take the safe legal way around and continue on my way home. But can this happen again? Of course, it already happened once, but excuse me, the main issue was that the Tesla owners had not been maintaining their vehicles through a bad cold spell, hadn't been out driving their vehicles, and it could just as easily happen to any ICE or internal combustion engine vehicle. But like I said, naysayers out there, they like to latch onto these little nuggets of truth, blow it up, and all of a sudden, that's the truth. EVs are bad. And I get it, you know, it sucks that the governments have made, you know, promises to eliminate internal combustion engines by a certain date and tried to give incentives for other vehicles, EV vehicles, to get them onto the road, and I get it. It feels like you've lost your choice and your ability to drive what you want, but you really haven't. You really haven't. There's going to be certain companies out there that are just going to transition on their own, whether the government says for them to transition or not. It's just the way things go. You know, over 120 years ago, everybody was on horse and buggy. You think they liked having these four-wheel vehicles from the future running around the roads? Probably not. You know, and it took some time for gas stations to be installed and the infrastructure to catch up to the vehicles, highways, all that kind of stuff. It wasn't until World War II that the interstate system was developed to the system that the Americans know today. That was until World War II, well into the 1940s. Before that, they didn't exist. The highway system did not exist the way that you know it now. So it just takes a little bit of time and progression and things come around. But again, that wasn't the whole point of the video, to get on a high horse of sorts. It's just facts. It's just information. But you know, the point of the video is showing that we've had this EV for the past 3 years. We've had very little problems with it. We're nice and roasty toasty in here. Yes, we're using more battery power or juice than what we would in the summertime. In the summertime, we'd probably see, you know, we've seen down to 17 kilometers or 17 kilowatt hours, sorry, per 100 kilometers. And right now, as you can see, we're at 29 kilowatts per 100 kilometers. Done 45 and a half kilometers in 33 minutes. So, again, no problem with keeping up. We're as warm as we could possibly be in here. Possibly want to be, is what I should say. And I don't know what else you could ask for. You know? So hopefully this was enjoyable. Hopefully I didn't talk too much and enjoy your expectations or ruin your expectations of this video. Sorry, and ruin your enjoyment of the video. But we are the only source for Mach E content like this. Trips to the United States, long haul trips, and then, you know, maintenance, like how to install a dash cam, how to properly jack up and support the vehicle, how to install those rear grills or gills on here, how to paint rotors. We are the only source for Mach E content on YouTube. I promise you that. If you like the video, think about giving us a thumbs up and then subscribing. Subscribing really helps me as a content creator. It allows me to purchase better equipment and make better videos than what we're doing. but I firmly believe that the information, the content is more important than how good it looks. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and remember, you never know unless you bear. We'll see you on the next video.
And boost your learning. Now listen, a sleep routine is important, and that leads to a good